Well, thank you very much for staying with us. Very quickly, we segue right into another conversation. We are talking energy matters and the way forward for our country. But we're going to be having an interaction with another member of parliament, Kofi Ako Nokoe, a member of parliament for Evalue Ajomoro Dra constituency. And he's also deputy ranking member on the Committee on Economy and Development. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, my brother.
Did I get your other name right,
yes.
Nokoe or Noko?
Oh, yes, I was about to correct you on that. It's difficult pronouncing it at first, so, but the name is Noku.
Noku.
Kofi Aku Noku, yes.
Noku, okay.
Noku as in a U, yes.
Okay.
That's how it's supposed to be, Noku.
Noku.
Yes.
Okay, so it's not O, it's not Oe, it is U.
Yes.
Okay.
Now that's a U.
Honorable Kofi Ako Noku. Yes. Thank you very much for that correction. Very quickly, let's get into, since you're a member of parliament, parliamentarians behaving like this. I don't want to use certain words because you bear the tag honorable, though sometimes the actions are not honorable. How do you assess what happened yesterday?
Well, thank you very much for the opportunity. And then permit me to greet my party leadership in my constituency. I mean, Joy News happens to be one of the favorite channels of Evalue Ajomoro Dra. So I would like, and everybody in the region and the whole party leadership, I greet them. And also for me to thank the people of Evalue Ajomoro Dra. I actually made history this time around. You know, it has never happened since 1992 to get a chance to have another slot consecutive term. It is always a one-term thing. And the people of Evalue Ajomoro Dra have done me the greatest of honor. And I'm so grateful for that. Yes, the happenings in Parliament yesterday was unfortunate and regrettable. I want to say that I have always maintained that gone were the days when the happenings in Parliament was in a conclave where people were not following. But with the aid of social media and the happenings in the country, I can tell you that, I mean, most of the youth and people, the political inclined people follow the discussions throughout. So I always say that we must be careful on what we do because whatever happens there has a reflection outside. I believe what happened was not the best, but I do believe that leadership this morning would have discussions on it on the way forward. And we as MPs must be careful on the precedents we serve, we set actually, because I don't understand why vetting an individual, one person should take about 3 hours to do that.
Should we have time limits on that?
I believe that should be the way. I mean, the law is there to be tested and also built upon.
As a member of parliament, what do you think would be an apt time frame, plus or minus?
Well, yeah, at least two hours. I mean,
2 hours?
Because
maximum?
Maximum, yes. Because there are some sensitive areas where, and then also on the panel, a lot of people want to ask questions. Now, if one person should take 3 hours, it becomes a problem. You know, because the purpose of vetting is to give the nominee an opportunity to showcase the capacity. I believe 2 hours maximum, but on a normal note, an hour should be enough.
An hour should, maximum 2 hours, but 1 hour should be enough.
Yes.
Right. Inus Hussaini is former legislator for Tamale Central. He described it as a toxic display of immaturity and impunity. But then he also prescribed something. There must be a cure somewhere, right? MPs putting tables, fighting, I mean, he says they should be dealt with in respect of breach of privilege and taken to the Privileges Committee. Do you think that's a solution? So that you know if you do this, you'll be taken to the Privileges Committee and there will be consequences.
Sure. I mean, we should bear consequences for our actions. I mean, I was listening to you on radio this morning when a comment was that if it had happened at a place like Achimota in a boarding school, at least they wouldn't have left it like that. And we as MPs, the first of the people that many people look up to, we should be setting good examples. So I agree with him. But I want to believe that, and also to say to our grassroots out there that I don't believe that leadership is weak. You know, there's a strategy. I mean, when you're the majority, there's a way of doing things. You can't always be aggressive and always like that. You have to be accommodative because at the end of the day, we need our nominees to be vetted and also sworn in because the country must move on. So I believe this morning and going forward, leadership on both sides will meet and figure out a way forward for which we will support. I doubt that any of us members of parliament this morning we are not in good moods. And regrettably, we look at it and we feel bad. So I believe going forward, things will be different.
All right. Let's talk energy now. Where do we find ourselves currently? You remember when Abdoulaye Dinapo, even before he was made minister designate, he had passed certain comments about where we found ourselves, and then there were subsequent comments about only 5 days worth of this and that fuel. Where do we find ourselves in terms of energy? Some of my colleagues still come and speak to me that, oh, my lights went out on this day or that day. Where are we?
Yeah, thank you for that. And that is one reason why I like the appointment of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. That is when whenever he allocates you the appointment, he gives you a target. I believe in his comment when he was swearing in Honorable Dinapo, who's a fantastic leader and has shown all the expertise and understanding of the area of the field. He, as part of his comment, he said that he should look at fixing Dumsor, because Dumsor is what people don't want to see.
Keep the lights on. Exactly,
keep the lights on. But unfortunately, the lights were kept on by the outgoing administration, but a lot of debt. I believe the situation that is at hand, be it power, be it the economy, everywhere is about debt. How do you maintain and able to fix that problem? It's all about debt. The Honorable Minister made mention of a debt stock of about $3 billion, and which is so scary. I mean, if a power sector has this kind of debt, it tells you that we're in danger. And then it's all about figuring out a way forward to at least make sure that we don't build on this debt. $3 billion is a lot of money. And then, well, it affects a lot of things. The first thing will be the fuel supply. I mean, how do you keep the lights on when you don't have enough fuel? That's a big problem that needs to be solved.
But a quick intervention. You talk about debt. When your party was leaving office in 2016, you were leaving a debt of about $2.1 billion. Now it has shot up by another 900 million, so $3 billion. That was still a lot of debt that had to be dealt with by the MPP administration. Now you've also inherited debt, more debt from them. How do you address this debt issue you're raising?
Yeah, like I said, basically a change of leadership is for you to address the problem head on. I mean, we would not say that we came to leave this amount of money to build on. And that is why I like his suggestion by the Honorable Minister that we need to give in to privatization, to private players to come in into the bid, the distribution bid, because the whole of the problem, the bulk of the problem emanates from the distribution bid. The last end user, that is where we're supposed to accrue the money to provide for the IPPs and others. And I agree with him when he says that we need to give in a role for people to come into the distribution sector, which is ECG. I mean, most of the blames goes at the role that ECG is supposed to play, because some of us don't understand why the sale of power should come with debt. Yes, we have the losses start from transmission and then also the distribution bit, but I can say that look at how most of the government agencies have issues when it comes to payment of bills and others. And that is when I believe that when privatization comes in, especially at the distribution bit, it will help. Because honestly, the attitude, the posturing of ECG is one factor. In my constituency, it's so difficult when there's a problem with transmitter, and then you have to write letters and be chasing ECG for so long before a major problem is fixed. These are consumers that are willing to pay for the electricity bills. So the posturing at ECG, I believe, when we have private individuals coming in, would help. Because they're rolling out. I mean, PDS did well, but just that there were issues with it. Look at it, in the space of about 3-4 months, look at how much they were able to accrue. So giving into private partners, because I always say that an amount of voltage, if it's given to people from Axim to Aguna, when you give it to a private partner, that this is the amount of voltage we're giving you, which is about $100,000. I mean, you have to render account for it. I take example from MTN. When it got to the printing of their core credit, you don't see MTN printing it. I mean, they sell it out to private partners. And what they said, well, what they give to them, they are supposed to have it back in cash. So basically, if we can do that, giving to private partners, especially at the distribution bit, I believe a lot of corrections can be made with regards to clearing those debts away. That's one factor.
you've started talking about the debt issues.
Yeah, sure.
And of course, we are where we are, with the CD being where it is, which means that the debt has ballooned even further in terms of CD terms. On the back of all of this, is your party, the NDC, are you going to be able to keep the lights on?
Most definitely. I mean, if we have the Honorable Minister has constituted a committee that has to look into, like I said, the partnership about it. This is a ministry that we've attached green energy to, green transitions to, because we've come to understand that it just doesn't make it economically viable to be transporting power over long distances. You understand? In order to cut down the transmission losses. That's why we are suggesting green technology, places where you can have smaller grids, places where you can have solar panels setting up, because in areas like that, Afram Plains and others. And producing in Takoradi and transporting in the southern sector and transporting all the way to the northern region gives you losses. And this is what we're talking about. We have to put in strategies and ways to curb losses that emanate from the transmission losses to the distribution losses. So I want to believe that with this committee being set up and under the leadership of the Honorable Minister, I believe we can look at cutting debt, which eventually would...
How will you cut the debt?
Like I said, you try to bring down losses. Losses.
So ECG?
Oh, ECG is a factor because, like I said, prepaid meters must be rolled out. And the position of ECG has been a factor. I don't know if you had the experience. Somebody applies for a meter, it takes about 3 or 4 months. Why would it be like that?
I do.
If I'm willing to pay for my meter, I should have it. You get my point? A private partner wouldn't put up that posturing, you know, so...
But is it not also to do with the bottlenecks of, I hear some of them come from South Africa, for example. There was a time I had an issue and I was told, oh, some things by the former manager, that some things were coming from South Africa and all that. Is it not also about the failure to maybe relocate some of those or locate some of those here, production-wise, so that we don't have to do this external bid? Because, of course, if you're bringing something all the way from South Africa or some other part of the world, it will take time and it will impede the metering process.
So that is why we're looking at green transition. My brother, look at the blessing we have from God when it comes to solar energy. I mean, solar energy, I always say that the initial cost might be a bit scary, but going forward, it's worth it. It's way cheaper. I mean, reports from the International Renewable Energy Agency has shown that from 2010 to now, the cost of solar panels has reduced more than 60%. And so those are ways that I believe going forward we'll be able to come up innovative ways of adding up, expanding our generation mix. Shouldn't always be relying on diesel and high-powered fuel and others. I mean, if we look at renewable energy, which we have vast of it, I mean, we have a lot of wind energy that we can tap into. So going forward, if we can, the thing is that we have to limit the distance at which power travels. That is one bit of the transmission. I mean, we lose about 16%, 18% of the loss emanates from transmission. If we can do that, get the power grid closer to the end user, that will be a factor. And that is why it is not only the energy of ministry, but energy of ministry and green transition. So I believe all those ways would add up to cutting down the cost, which eventually would keep the light on. And also
cutting down cost will also mean cutting down losses in terms of power that is consumed but not paid for.
Sure.
Which brings in back ECG, right?
Yes.
How are you going to cure the sickness of ECG in terms of losses? Privatization? Is that the solution?
No, not solely holistic privatization.
What is holistic privatization?
I mean, the misconception out there is that we are pushing for a whole privatization of ECG, which is not true. We are giving in the strategy of the Mahama-led government is to give in to private partners. I mean, prepaid meters must be expanded everywhere. I mean, why would ECG be chasing agencies and ministries for electricity bill, where technology could have solved that? My brother, you get it? Yes, it could have solved that. I mean, you roll out prepaid meters everywhere, country-wise. Though those of outside might not like the concept of prepaid meters, it solves problems. So that is one way of ensuring that at least the cash at hand comes before you consume, which would be a way to cut costs and save ECG. That is a way out.
So you are for a partial privatization
Exactly,
of ECG?
not a holistic one, private.
What aspects of ECG do you think should be privatized?
Yes, like I said, I mean, the end user, the sale of power at the end. You know, like I said, I mean, let's learn from best practices outside, where ECG must not go down to the last consumer to be chasing for power used. You sell it to a private partner. This is the amount of wattage we're giving you, which is $200,000.
And you must account for it.
You must account for it. I mean, this young man, this contractor who has it, will make sure that all those gaps, be it illegal connection and others, are fixed. You know, because at the end of the day, if he's not able to come up with the money, it goes against his business. You know, but giving it to ECG puts them in a relaxed manner, because what they say is that whether they work or not, whether they declare profit or not, they're going to be paid. So that is the way to go. I mean, Unilever does it. MTN does it. So why can't we adapt that same?
Now, we already have the situation we are in with ECG. It will take some time to remedy it, though technically the people of Ghana are not giving you too much time. You have to work, and you have to change things. But how do we address then the problem of the cash waterfall mechanism and the satisfaction of the independent power producers? How are you going to align them? I know part of it has to do with ECG, but how do we streamline it?
Well, I mean, the cash water mechanism was to ensure that, I mean, every partner gets something at the end of the day, you know. But the policy might be right by the implementation, and that is why we need to look at it. Because, I mean, left it for ECG alone, they might even be paying themselves before they even consider the IPPs. So we just have to ensure that the right thing is done. And I believe the new leadership that has come to play under the minister, I believe, would ensure that it is done. We have the policies in place. All we have to do is just to make sure that we make it work. If we do, things will be okay. And the lights, in a way, we can keep it on.
All right. So if I asked you, as we get to the end of this conversation, if I asked you as a member of parliament, as one well-versed in energy matters, in 1 year, if you had to come up with a plan to deal with our energy issues, what are some of the key areas you would look at 1 year period to cure our debt situation and also keep the lights on?
You know, like I said, let's look at expanding our energy generation mix. I mean, it doesn't make sense to be transporting power all the way from the south to the north. Let's go in, let's tap into solar energy and other renewable.
So NETCO taps into a lot more solar.
Sure. In order to cut down transmission loss, that's one thing. And then we go back to the distribution bit. Like I said, ECG is too vast. I mean, you can't have only one company taking charge of the whole country, the southern part of the whole country. No, even if ECG is supposed to be demarcated into zones, I mean, regional level, holding them accountable, it would work. And then at the end of the day, we should, the Ghanaian, because one thing I've seen is that every Ghanaian wants his own meter, you understand? Because they want to be held accountable for what they use. So make provisions for them. It shouldn't be backlogs of where you want a private meter becomes a problem. So the motivation, the posture of ECG must change. That is when the private partners come in to ensure that there is value for money. What we produce, what we send to the end user, we get the money for it. And also to look at, I think another problem is where we politicians get to serve on boards and others where we don't make ECG and others semi-autonomous. I mean, we have to be able to hold them accountable. You know, so I believe that if we should also be opening up our prepaid meters to the agencies and other areas, it would help, because it just doesn't make sense when you have technology and you have to be chasing people for power consumed. Nobody wants to pay. You know, so you have to put in a mechanism where you have to pay for what you use. Because like I said, debt is the first thing we should be looking at. I mean, when it comes to the power sector, economic sector, everywhere we go is about debt. If we can find ways to manage our debt, I believe we can keep the lights on, and then there will be constant supply of power.
Let me just acknowledge a few messages. I think, Kwejo Entry, you may mean prepaid, because you say, I think they should abolish You say postpaid, but I think you mean prepaid. Meters throughout the country, except very remote areas, to avoid chasing individuals for bills, etc. Which I think then you're saying prepaid, so that then what you pay for is what you end up consuming. Yebua Benjamin says, why won't ECG run into losses when energy meters are treated like a luxury for high bidders? Even Joy News ran a whole documentary on it, and the revelations were so unsightly, yet nobody was held responsible for anything. And he's referring to that documentary we aired some time back. Final words?
Yes, so the final words is that, I mean, we as Ghanaians must believe in the leadership of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. And we as citizens have a lot of role to play when it comes to ensuring that we have power supply. And my advice too also is that ECG must understand that, I mean, we can't leave people to be cartels when it comes to reforms. I mean, reforms are things that are good that we should embrace. So I want to believe that whatever reform that is coming, we should hope and pray and believe that it will be the best for us in the end. Like I said, a lot of reforms need to take place from generation to transmission to distribution. We should also be, I mean, there should be, I think we should learn from oral, where we have a free tone, a phone center where people can call in and report issues of power theft and others. Because once they get to understand that if things are not managed, it affects all of us, it will be a good thing. I always believe that the Ghanaians should be able to understand that we are all in this together. Right. We all have our parts to play. I do mine, you play yours, and together we succeed. That should be the way forward.
I have a message. I don't have the person's permission to mention his name. It's a direct message, but the person says, "Good morning. Please say hello to Honorable Kofi Akon Nokoe. Yes. He is my good brother and a brilliant young man. I pray he is nominated as a deputy minister." Okay. Do you know he's the only person to break the curse of one term? Yes, he mentioned that. And this is a message coming through from someone, one Adu in Ahanta West. I will not mention the full name, but he's something Adu. Is that something you would take on, though, if you were given a deputy ministerial nod?
I mean, it's for the President's Excellency to make that decision. I mean, I'm a young man in Parliament with expertise in energy, and that is where I hope to acquire more knowledge and be able to help my country. And hailing from the Western region, where we bet most of the brunt from the happenings of the oil industry, it would be a great pleasure to serve. But it's based on a decision of His Excellency. Whatever comes, we accept it, because we want to help him to succeed. So in whatever capacity comes, why not?
All right.
Sure.
Well, thank you, and we wish you the very best, even as you support the team, and we hope you do. All of you, keep our lights on.
Oh, we will.
That's all we need.
You can bet on it.
And this has been a conversation on energy with Honorable Kofi Akon Nokoe. Nokoe. Okay. Honorable Kofi Akon Nokoe, Member of Parliament, Evalu Ajomoro Ejura constituency. He's also the deputy ranking member of the Committee on Economy and Development. He joined the conversation with us this morning. Do stick and stay. I still have my blunt thoughts I'll be serving you shortly. Ghana's economy in focus, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And of course, I'll spice it up with some thoughts about Parliament and what happened yesterday. Stick and stay. We'll be right back.